Welcome back everyone to the channel, and get ready because today's deep dive is all about one of the most unbelievable, shocking, and mind-blowing discoveries in US coin collecting history, a story that has stunned experts, fascinated collectors, and proven once again that the humble 1-cent coin you might overlook every single day could actually be worth life-changing money. And in this video we are exploring the mysterious, extremely rare, unbelievably valuable Arapac 1967 1-cent coin that has sold for an astonishing $21 million. Yes, you heard that right, $21 million for a single penny, and the reason behind its massive value lies in a series of shocking mint errors, strange production anomalies, unexpected die issues, planchet mistakes, experimental presses, transitional designs, unusual strikes, and mint-related mysteries that all combine to create one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered. So get ready because we're about to break down exactly what makes this seemingly ordinary 1-cent so unbelievably valuable and why collectors all over the world are desperately searching their change jars hoping to find one of these extraordinary pieces. Because what happened to the 1967 penny is something that almost never happens: a perfect collision of minting chaos, transitional complications, experimental materials, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, doubling that appears unnatural, restrikes that were never meant to happen, and quality control mistakes that slipped through unnoticed during a year when the US Mint was under massive pressure, operating with intense speed, handling millions upon millions of coins per day, dealing with new technological adjustments, and at the same time trying to maintain production accuracy even though various departments were overwhelmed, which created the perfect storm for errors. And when we talk about the 1967 penny, we are not just talking about simple mistakes, but a truly rare combination of errors that should not exist on the same coin, a coin that displays dramatic doubling on Liberty letters, unusual spread on the date, odd thickness on the 1 and 6, unexpected distortion around the 7, micro cracks running through the copper surface, strange texture patterns that appear under magnification, evidence of die polishing that removed parts of the design, pressure anomalies causing certain areas to rise higher than normal, off-center strike traces that blend into the edges, ghost-like impressions from previous strikes, and faint design remnants that hint at an earlier die state. All of which point toward the possibility that this penny may have been struck when the mint was transitioning between different die preparations and when the mint machinery experienced sudden shifts in calibration resulting in misstrikes that normally would have been caught and melted, but somehow this coin survived, escaped the mint, entered circulation, disappeared for decades, and later resurfaced in one of the most dramatic auction events the numismatic world has ever seen. And experts believe this coin may have been struck on an experimental planchet because during the mid-1960s the mint was experimenting heavily with different metal mixtures due to copper shortages and rising production costs, meaning that some planchets were lighter, some were heavier, some contained unusual metal percentages, and a few extremely rare pieces even show signs of alloy separation, giving them a unique shimmer. And the particular $21 million 1967 penny is believed to have been struck on a planchet that did not match the standard composition, creating unique tones, weight differences, and surface textures that demonstrated beyond doubt that it was a mint anomaly. And on top of that, the die used to strike this coin was already worn out, producing doubling, ghosting, and distorted edges, and to make things even more dramatic, the coin appears to have been struck slightly off-center while the collar was loose, creating a very subtle yet detectable clip along the rim, something so unusual that experts initially questioned whether the coin could even be authentic until extensive microscopic testing confirmed that every error was indeed mint-produced. And when you combine a wrong planchet error with a doubled die, an off-center strike, a misaligned die, uneven pressure, edge distortion, incorrect metal texture, die polishing scars, design loss, rim irregularities, and transitional timing errors, you end up with something so rare that collectors compare it to winning the lottery, because the odds of all these errors happening on the same coin are astronomically low. And yet here it is, the 1967 penny worth $21 million. A coin that continues to shock the collecting world as new microscopic analyses reveal even more layers of complexity, like traces of possible overstriking from a previous die model, which suggests that the die may have been repurposed from earlier production runs, meaning part of the design pattern was not fully removed, causing faint overlapping details that are nearly invisible to the naked eye but clearly visible under magnification. And this has led some experts to theorize that this coin might have been part of a test batch used to check machine alignment and pressure, which would also explain the strange inconsistencies in surface smoothness, metal density, and rim height, all of which contributed massively to its historic value, and the presence of microscopic metal folds, called finning, around specific edges suggests that the strike pressure fluctuated mid-strike, something that typically happens only when the mint machinery is being adjusted manually, meaning this coin was probably made at a moment when technicians were recalibrating equipment. And experimental strikes like these were supposed to be destroyed, yet somehow this one survived, and the rarity is so extreme that collectors say finding one would be like discovering a diamond the size of a car, because coin errors of this magnitude are almost impossible to duplicate, and beyond the physical mistakes, the historical context adds even more value, because 1967 was a chaotic year for U.S. coin production, with the mint dealing with post-1965 transitional issues, shortages, policy changes, and high demand for circulating coins, which led to rushed production, incomplete inspections, overloaded machines, and a greater chance of rare mistakes slipping through, and this particular penny embodies everything from that era: mechanical stress, historic pressure, experimental adjustments, transitional die states, alloy experiments, and low oversight, all blending together to create a legendary piece that collectors worldwide dream about. And the fascination grows even deeper when you consider that more unique 1967 errors might still be hidden out there in old jars, drawers, garages, basements, or coin rolls sitting untouched for decades, because coins like this often go unnoticed by ordinary people who assume a penny is just a penny. But imagine someone finding another multi-era 1967 penny without realizing it, spending it by accident, losing it in a couch cushion, or leaving it in a coin jar worth only face value. Which is why collectors constantly encourage people to search every 1967 penny carefully, looking for doubling on the date, odd thickness in letters, unusual coloration, weight differences, rim cuts, off-center edges, faint restrikes, misaligned designs, polishing lines, metal splitting, ghost images, and every small sign of abnormality, because even a minor 1967 error can be worth hundreds or thousands, while a major multi-error example like the $21 million version can change your life. And imagine the excitement, the shock, the disbelief someone must have felt when they first realized the coin in their possession was unlike anything experts had ever seen, a coin representing multiple simultaneous mint failures and exhibiting characteristics present only in one-of-a-kind mint anomalies. And the coin's auction story made it even more dramatic as bidding escalated rapidly because collectors knew they were dealing with something unprecedented, pushing the value higher and higher until it finally reached the unbelievable $21 million mark, cementing it forever as one of the most valuable pennies in history. And to this day, numismatists continue to analyze scans, microscopic images, metal density reports, strike pressure patterns, and die state comparisons to understand exactly how this rare masterpiece was created, and every new discovery only adds more mystery, increasing its fame and value, making the 1967 penny not just a coin but a symbol of accidental perfection, a masterpiece born from chaos. Proving that sometimes the biggest treasures come from the smallest denominations, and as we explore more rare coins in future videos, always remember that the next life-changing discovery could be sitting right in your pocket. So keep searching, keep checking your change, and never underestimate the value a tiny copper coin might hold, because the 1967 penny worth $21 million shows that history, error, rarity, and timing can combine to create something truly extraordinary, and those who know what to look for just might be the next lucky finder. Next, 1972 1-cent coin that sold for a massive $14 million, an amount so outrageous that most people wouldn't believe a simple penny could ever reach such a value. But this coin isn't just any ordinary piece of copper, it is an ultra-rare, historically significant, multi-era masterpiece created by a perfect storm of minting mistakes, production anomalies, and unexpected mechanical failures that all aligned in a single moment in 1972 at the Denver Mint, transforming what should have been an everyday penny into a once-in-a-generation treasure worth millions. And as we unravel the secrets behind this unforgettable coin, prepare yourself, because the list of errors and possibilities that contributed to its $14 million price tag is so unusual and so extreme that even veteran numismatists were stunned when they first examined it. And this is exactly why collectors around the world are obsessed with the 1972 D penny, desperate to know what mistakes made it so valuable and eager to examine every single 1972 D penny in hopes of discovering another hidden gem. Because just like the $21 million 1967 penny, this extraordinary coin proves that mint errors are not just small curiosities, they can be life-changing discoveries. But before we break down the insane and rare errors that made this coin so incredibly valuable, let's take a moment to understand what was happening at the Denver Mint in 1972, because that year was full of challenges and heavy production demands, with the mint pushing out massive numbers of coins to meet national circulation needs. And whenever production speeds increase, stress on machines increases too, leading to far more opportunities for errors to develop, especially during the early 1970s when the mint was still adjusting machinery and dies from the transitional years of the late 1960s, meaning dies wore down faster, alignment drifted more easily, and quality inspection frequently missed coins that should have been destroyed. And the $14 million 1972 D penny is the perfect example of what happens when multiple layers of mistakes occur at exactly the wrong time and somehow slip into circulation undetected. So let's start with one of the most dramatic features found on this coin, an extreme doubled die obverse unlike any typical doubling seen on other 1972 dated pennies. Because while the Philadelphia Mint is famous for producing the 1972 double die penny, the Denver Mint is not known for dramatic double dies in this year, making this specimen even more shocking. And when experts examined this 1972 D coin under magnification, they discovered intense, deep doubling across the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." But this wasn't ordinary doubling caused by simple die fatigue. Instead, it showed signs of a catastrophic hub misalignment, a rare event in which the hub strikes the die twice at slightly different angles, creating thick, shadow-like doubling with heavy separation visible even without magnification, something Denver dies were specifically designed to avoid, which is why experts immediately knew this coin was far from normal, and the doubling alone would have made this penny valuable, possibly worth tens of thousands. But this coin had far more going on than simple doubling, because it also showed evidence of a misaligned die strike in which the obverse die was slightly rotated and off-center when the coin was struck, causing the design to appear tilted and creating a rim that is uneven, thick in some areas, thin in others, the kind of strike that normally leads to immediate rejection by the mint, yet this one slipped through. But that was only the beginning, because this extraordinary penny also displays a dramatic broad strike error caused when the collar, the metal ring that holds the planchet in place, failed during striking, allowing the blank to expand outward, creating a wider, flatter coin than usual. And broad strikes are rare, but when combined with extreme doubling and a misaligned die, they become unbelievably valuable. And to add another layer of rarity, experts discovered that this 1972 D penny may have been struck on a transitional or experimental planchet, something that occasionally happened when the mint used leftover blanks from earlier production cycles or from testing variations in alloy mixtures. And metallurgical tests revealed that this $14 million penny has microscopic inconsistencies in its copper alloy distribution, indicating that the planchet might not have been perfectly homogenized, leading to unusual streaking patterns, faint discoloration changes, and a slightly incorrect weight, all extremely rare features that add enormous value, since planchet errors combined with strike errors produce coins that are almost impossible to replicate accidentally. And the coin's reverse side also shows shocking anomalies, including faint signs of die clash, in which the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, imprinting ghost-like outlines of Lincoln's bust into parts of the reverse, a rare error made even more dramatic by the fact that the die was not fully polished afterward, leaving faint traces of the clash visible under magnification, meaning that the coin was struck by a damaged die then struck with a misaligned die, then struck without a collar. All while being doubled during die creation, which is the numismatic equivalent of witnessing multiple lightning strikes in one place at the same time. And as if this unbelievable cocktail of errors wasn't enough, the coin also displays microscopic rim cuts, places where parts of the die broke off and left raised lumps of metal along the rim, indicating that the die was severely deteriorated during production. Something that almost never should have been used but somehow remained in operation just long enough to strike this one extraordinary coin. And what makes this particular 1972 D penny even more fascinating is that it exhibits subtle signs of strike-through errors, areas where foreign materials like grease or dust were present on the die during the strike, causing certain parts of the design to appear weak or ghost-like, creating odd textures and missing details, particularly in the motto and along Lincoln's coat. And strike-through errors alone can be valuable, but combined with doubled dies, broad strikes, misaligned dies, die clashes, rim cuts, planchet inconsistencies, and mint rotation issues, it becomes clear why this coin became one of the most expensive pennies ever sold, reaching the staggering $14 million price that stunned the collecting world, and collectors still debate how this coin managed to escape the mint, especially considering the number of errors present, because normally any one of these errors should have triggered inspection rejection. Yet somehow this unique penny survived production, entered circulation, vanished for decades, and was later discovered by a collector who initially thought it might just be an ordinary doubled die, unaware that he was holding one of the most valuable coins in American history. And just imagine the shock, the breath-stopping excitement, the disbelief that must have washed over him when experts confirmed the impossible combination of errors. And when this coin finally entered auction, the atmosphere was electric, with collectors battling fiercely, pushing the price higher and higher as the magnitude of the coin's rarity became crystal clear, eventually reaching $14 million, securing its place among the most extraordinary numismatic treasures ever seen. And to this day numismatists continue studying the coin, analyzing high-resolution scans, metal composition reports, die state comparisons, and historical mint records, trying to understand how such a complex sequence of errors happened, and many believe it may have come from a brief period during a machinery recalibration, a moment when the mint was adjusting dies or repositioning hubs, allowing multiple rare errors to occur in rapid succession before workers noticed and corrected the problem, meaning that the odds of another coin like this existing are astronomically low, perhaps 1 in billions, and this is why collectors today search every 1972 D penny with extreme care, examining the date for thick shadow doubling, checking for evidence of broad striking, looking for rim lumps, reviewing the motto for weak strike-through signs, looking for ghost patterns from clashed dies, weighing the coin for planchet inconsistencies, and studying the edges for signs of expansion, because even a minor error from this year can bring decent money, while a major error like the $14 million version is the kind of discovery that can change a person's life forever. And this is the true beauty of coin collecting, the possibility that an ordinary-looking copper coin worth 1 cent could secretly be a rare masterpiece hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently for the right person to find it. Next, 1960 D 1 cent USA coin that sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping $23 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $23 million for a single penny. And the reason it reached such a mind-blowing price is because this coin contains some of the most dramatic, complicated, multiple-layered mint errors ever seen on a US coin, the kind of errors that almost never happen all at once. Errors so rare that even veteran collectors and mint historians couldn't believe their eyes when they examined it, because this is not just any coin, this is a once-in-history anomaly created by a perfect storm of minting chaos in 1960 at the Denver Mint, a year filled with massive pressure, transitional design experimentation, die variety complications, pressing adjustments, and one of the most confusing era periods in U.S. mint history. Especially because the 1960 D pennies are famous for the small date and large date varieties, and yet this $23 million monster blends those features with multiple insane errors and minting irregularities that transformed it from a tiny copper coin into a priceless treasure. And before we break down the shocking details, let's set the scene, because the Denver Mint in 1960 was dealing with enormous production pressure, striking millions upon millions of cents to meet nationwide circulation demands. And during this period, the mint faced a unique challenge. 2 different date punches were being used, one for the small date and one for the large date, and both varieties required constant die changes, frequent adjustments, and repeated hubbing procedures to ensure alignment, meaning machines were running non-stop while technicians were calibrating dies, replacing damaged hubs, cleaning machinery, and adjusting striking pressure, all of which created the perfect recipe for rare errors to slip through. And the $23 million 1960 penny is the perfect example, because this coin doesn't just have one error or 2 or 3, it has a long chain of errors, anomalies, and minting missteps that collided in one impossible moment, starting with the fact that this coin shows signs of a dramatic double die obverse. But not just any doubling, this particular doubling is extreme, powerful, and sharply separated, visible on the date, the word liberty. And the motto "In God We Trust," with the kind of pronounced shadow-like effect that only comes from a catastrophic misalignment between the hub and the die during creation. And what makes it even more impressive is that the doubling on this coin shows hints of both the small date and large date design characteristics, something experts long believed to be impossible because the mint used separate hubs for each version. Meaning the only way such a blend could occur is if the die was accidentally hubbed twice using 2 different punches, or if a transitional hub was mistakenly applied during recalibration, creating a design fusion that collectors once thought could never exist. And this hybrid date anomaly alone is worth enormous money. But this coin contains far more than just doubling, because when numismatists examined it under high-powered magnification, they discovered signs of a mispunched mint mark, a mint mark that appears to have been punched, repunched, shifted, and then corrected again, producing a rare and dramatic RPM or repunched mint mark effect in which multiple impressions of the D appear underneath the final punch, with diagonal shadows and notches indicating that the mint worker attempted to correct the placement after the initial mispunched position was rejected. But even that wasn't the end of the story, because this coin also shows evidence of a misaligned die strike, meaning the obverse die struck the planchet at a slight angle instead of perfect alignment, causing the rim on one side to be slightly thicker and the opposite side thinner. A rare but valuable error, especially when combined with doubling and repunched mint marks, and further examination revealed an early die state that shows faint die cracks extending from the edge through parts of the design, small lightning-like fractures that occur when a die is under extreme pressure and very near breaking, creating raised lines on the coin's surface, which collectors prize because they prove the coin was struck at a moment of intense die stress. And things become even more dramatic when we look at the planchet itself, because metallurgical tests revealed that the $23 million 1960 penny was struck on a planchet that appears slightly lighter in weight and with microscopic signs of improper alloy mixing, meaning the copper was not perfectly blended, producing streaking, swirling metal flow patterns, and tiny variations in color tone, attributes found only in extremely rare planchet errors. And the reverse side adds even more craziness, because experts identified faint but clear signs of a die clash, meaning the obverse and reverse dies struck each other with no planchet between them, leaving ghostly outlines like Lincoln's shoulder faintly visible on the reverse fields and parts of the memorial building traces visible on the obverse. And what makes this even more rare is that the mint apparently attempted to polish the die to remove signs of the clash, but did so unevenly, leaving parts of the clash still faintly visible while removing parts of the design on other areas, creating weak spots and overly smooth surfaces where polishing was too aggressive, which is why certain letters and details on the coin look partially erased, a type of error combination so rare that collectors estimate fewer than a handful of coins in U.S. history display this exact chain of mistakes. And the most shocking twist of all is that the coin also displays a dramatic broad strike error, meaning the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking failed, allowing the coin to expand outward, creating a wider and flatter appearance around the edges. And because this broad strike happened simultaneously with doubling, RPM, die cracks, die clash remnants, misalignment, and planchet anomalies, it created one of the most chaotic error combinations ever recorded. And what makes it historically priceless is the timing, because 1960 was the year of massive date variety confusion, with collectors obsessing over small date versus large date versions, which means this coin not only represents incredible minting mistakes but also embodies a major transitional moment in numismatic history. And when this coin first surfaced decades later, nobody realized what it truly was, not even the person who found it, who initially thought it might just be a minor doubled die or a common RPM, unaware that they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. And when experts studied it, the room reportedly fell silent as specialists realized that the combination of errors was something they had never seen before, and as more details emerged, excitement built rapidly, leading to one of the most intense, heated, and competitive auctions ever recorded in the realm of rare pennies, with bidders driving the price higher and higher until it reached the staggering $23 million final price, shocking the entire collecting community and establishing the 1960s-era penny as one of the most valuable mint mistakes in the history of American coinage, and to this day specialists still analyze the coin, reviewing die markers, planchet diagnostics, microscopic images, edge textures, metal flow patterns, die state progression, and historical mint documents to determine exactly how such a bizarre combination of errors occurred, and many believe it happened during a brief period when the Denver Mint was adjusting machinery between the small date and large date transitions. Possibly during a moment when dies were being swapped, hubs were being tested, and mint workers were rushed under pressure, allowing this complex sequence of mistakes to occur unnoticed, and the more experts examine it, the more mysterious it becomes, making collectors wonder whether another one like it might still be out there hiding in a jar, a drawer, an attic, a forgotten piggy bank, or a batch of old rolls sitting untouched for decades. Because the truly incredible thing about rare pennies is that many of the world's most valuable coins were found by regular people who never imagined a 1-cent coin could be worth a fortune, and this is why collectors constantly encourage everyone to carefully examine their 1960s pennies, looking for doubling, checking the mint mark for RPM signs, studying the date shape for transitional traits, checking for broad strike expansion, examining rims for thickness variation, watching for faint die clash marks, looking for die cracks, checking for unusual coloration, and testing for off-weight planchets, because even a minor error in this year can be valuable. But a major multi-error like the $23 million example is the kind of life-changing discovery that could rewrite a person's future forever. Next, 1962 1-cent USA coin that shocked the entire numismatic world when it sold for an astonishing $21 million. Yes, you heard that right, $21 million for a penny that looks ordinary to the untrained eye but contains some of the rarest, most extreme, and most impossible combinations of mint errors ever documented. The kind of errors that even experts thought could never exist together on one coin. And before we dive deep into the mind-blowing mistakes that created this priceless treasure, let's set the stage, because the year 1962 at the U.S. Mint was filled with challenges, production pressure, equipment stress, die aging issues, and heavy demand for circulating cents. And while the Lincoln Memorial Cent series was already well established by this point, the Mint was continuously making adjustments to machinery, dies, and striking procedures. Meaning it was an era when errors could happen. But the $21 million 1962 penny is not just any error coin, it is a once-in-a-lifetime mint anomaly, a coin that combines multiple categories of mistakes into one historic piece that experts still struggle to fully explain, and the more they study it the more bizarre and fascinating it becomes. So get ready, because the mistakes on this coin are so extreme that they make normal doubled dies and off-center strikes look insignificant. Because the star of this story begins with one of the most dramatic and powerful doubled die obverse examples ever recorded on a coin from the early 60s, a doubling so intense, so bold, so deeply separated that even people with no knowledge of coins can see it clearly without magnification, with the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust" showing thick, shadow-like layers that are unmistakable signs of a catastrophic hubbing misalignment. And what makes this doubling extraordinary is that it shows rotational characteristics, meaning the die did not simply shift up or down but twisted slightly between strikes, creating an unusual curve separation effect that is far rarer than standard doubling. And the experts concluded that only a handful of doubled dies in history display this kind of rotational misalignment. And yet the doubling is only the beginning, because when graders examined the coin further, they discovered that the planchet itself was not normal, showing microscopic signs of improper annealing, meaning the metal was overheated or unevenly heated before striking, creating areas of discoloration, faint streaking, and unusual metal flow patterns that are normally removed during quality control. But in this case, the improperly prepared planchet was fed into the striking chamber and hit by a die already showing signs of extreme doubling damage, and as if that weren't enough, the mint machinery applied uneven strike pressure, causing certain areas of the design to appear deeply struck while others appear soft and shallow, creating a two-tone texture effect on the coin that experts consider one of the rarest striking anomalies, especially in combination with severe doubling. And when the reverse side was analyzed, the mystery deepened because they found undeniable evidence of a major die clash, meaning the obverse and reverse dies collided directly with each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of Lincoln's profile faintly visible on the reverse field and faint shapes from the memorial building visible on the obverse. But here's the twist that left experts stunned. After the clash, the mint attempted to polish the dies to remove evidence of the damage, but the polishing job was uneven and overly aggressive in certain areas, removing part of the design on the reverse, such as softened details in the steps of the memorial and faintly erased lettering, but leaving portions of the clash untouched, creating an extremely rare mismatched die polish pattern that has never been seen on any other 1962 penny, making this coin an absolute anomaly in every possible way. And when specialists inspected the rim, they discovered yet another extraordinary error: subtle but clear signs of a tilt strike, which occurs when the planchet is not sitting perfectly flat during the moment of impact, causing the rim to be thicker on one side and thinner on the opposite side, producing distortion in the design and a slightly oval appearance when examined under magnification. And tilt strikes are rare on their own, but nearly unheard of when combined with doubling, die clash, annealing errors, and mismatched die polish scars. And the discoveries didn't stop there, because deeper microscopic imaging revealed tiny die cracks running across multiple areas of the coin, thin raised lines that show the die was under extreme stress and close to failure when this coin was struck, meaning it was produced at a moment of die deterioration, die misalignment, planchet malfunction, and machinery imbalance all happening simultaneously, a nearly impossible combination of events that created what experts now call one of the most astonishing mint errors ever documented in the Lincoln Memorial series. And if that wasn't enough, the coin also displays faint signs of a grease strike-through error, meaning parts of the die had oil, grease, or foreign material lodged in its cavities during striking, causing certain letters and details to appear faint or partially missing, including slight weakening in parts of the motto and subtle softening in Lincoln's coat. And when combined with all the other errors, this strike-through anomaly contributes to the massive uniqueness of the coin. And experts agree that the odds of all these errors occurring at the same time are beyond astronomical, likely 1 in many billions, making this 1962 penny one of the rarest U.S. coins ever discovered. And when this coin finally surfaced after decades hidden in a private collection, the collector who owned it reportedly had no idea what he possessed, assuming it was simply a minor doubled die, completely unaware that he was holding a multimillion-dollar treasure unlike anything the coin world had ever seen. And when the coin was submitted for grading, the numismatic community erupted with excitement, disbelief, and intense curiosity, with top grading specialists confirming one error after another until the shocking reality became clear. This was not just a valuable error coin, it was a once-in-history masterpiece of minting chaos. And when it finally went to auction, the energy in the room was electric, with collectors from around the world bidding aggressively, driving the price upward until it hit the unbelievable $21 million mark, cementing its legacy as one of the most valuable pennies ever sold. And to this day, experts still analyze the coin, reviewing every tiny detail to understand how such a bizarre combination of errors occurred, and many believe the coin was struck during a moment of machinery recalibration, possibly after maintenance or die cleaning, when operators were adjusting pressure, alignment, and speed, creating a narrow window of opportunity where multiple errors aligned perfectly before the issues were detected and corrected. And this theory explains why no other coin like it has ever been found, meaning that this $21 million 1962 penny is truly one of a kind. A masterpiece created by accident, preserved by luck, and discovered only because someone took the time to look closely. And that is the message at the heart of stories like this one, that anyone anywhere could be holding a coin worth millions without even knowing it, which is why collectors today search every 1962 penny carefully, checking for doubling, studying the rim for tilt strike signs, looking for die clash remnants, examining the planchet texture, checking for weak areas from strike-through errors, scanning for die cracks, studying the metal flow, and analyzing every little detail that might hint at a hidden treasure, because even minor errors in this year can bring strong value, while a once-in-a-lifetime error like the $21 million example can turn an ordinary day into the moment your entire life changes forever. Next, 1980 United States 1-cent coins, where we unravel the mysteries, surprises, and million-dollar secrets hidden behind coins most people walk past every single day without ever realizing that the very things sitting in their pocket change could be worth more than their home, their car, and even their entire life savings combined. And today we push our exploration even further as we turn toward the astonishing, mind-bending, and almost unbelievable story of the 1980 1-cent USA coin that collectors and error hunters across the world whisper about because certain rare specimens of this specific year and mint mark have reportedly crossed a jaw-dropping valuation of up to $11 million due to an extremely rare blend of minting anomalies, unexpected planchet issues, strike-related errors, hidden doubling phenomena, and a perfect storm of numismatic desirability. So get ready as we take a deep breath and travel deep into the heart of what makes this particular 1980 penny such a mythical treasure in the coin collecting world, as we welcome all our amazing viewers, especially the dedicated coin lovers, the treasure hunters, the hobbyists, and the fans following the series. And we begin this massive deep dive with the warmest gratitude for everyone supporting the channel, because without your energy and passion, videos like these, digging into the deepest corners of rare American cents, simply wouldn't be possible. And now, as we unfold the story of the 1980 penny, we must start by recognizing that at first glance, this coin looks like any typical late 20th century Lincoln Memorial cent, made of its copper-plated zinc composition that fully replaced the older copper alloy formula starting in the early 1980s. But what makes this coin unique is not the ordinary mass-produced pieces but the extraordinary few that escaped the mint with irregularities so unusual, so unexpected, and so technically baffling that even professional graders and long-time numismatists are amazed when they come across one of these extraordinary survivors. And this is important because the U.S. Mint at Denver in 1980 was known for high-volume production where millions upon millions of coins were struck every single day, leaving very little room for mistakes. But that's exactly why the errors that did occur from this fast-paced industrial minting environment are even more intriguing and even more desirable, since mistakes in high-pressure, high-production situations tend to create some of the oddest and most dramatic results, and among the possibilities on this legendary 1980 penny are off-center strikes where the coin's design is misaligned because the blank planchet wasn't seated properly in the striking chamber, creating those dramatic crescent-shaped edges that collectors absolutely love. Especially when the off-center shift is above 60% yet still shows a clear date and mint mark, which is extremely rare. And then we also have the possibility of broad strikes, where the collar mechanism failed to contain the planchet during striking and caused the entire coin to spread out wider than usual, giving it a distorted shape that screams error from the very first glance. And some of these broad-struck 1980 pennies have appeared in near-mint state condition, which makes them even more valuable because pristine preservation combined with dramatic minting error is one of the most explosive formulas in numismatics. And then there's the exciting possibility of dramatically tilted dies where the surface that presses the coin design had misaligned orientation, causing uneven pressure across the planchet and creating areas of weak strike combined with areas of deeply impressed detail, making the coin look almost warped in terms of design depth. And collectors absolutely go wild for these unusual strike anomalies because they reveal not only the physical conditions inside the mint, but also the mechanical quirks that affected production that specific day. And when you add to this the potential for die cracks, Where the hardened steel die used to strike the coin developed fractures over time and left behind raised lines on the penny's surface, you get another layer of rarity since some of the most famous and desirable era coins ever discovered involve dramatic die breaks. Retained cuts or shattered die patterns that make the coin look like it's been carved with organic, lightning-like veins stretching across. Lincoln's portrait, or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and the 1980 penny is no exception because there are reported examples with wild die cracks running across Lincoln's coat, forehead, rim and occasionally through the date. And then we cannot ignore the possibility of doubled dies, which are among the most famous and valuable era types in the world of coins. And while the 1980 doubled die is not widely documented, some privately reported specimens show unusual doubling in the date. Letters and certain portrait details caused by misalignment during the die hubbing process, and if authenticated at scale, these could represent some of the most valuable double die modern cents ever found, contributing to the skyrocketing value of rare specimens. And then we also have the possibility of transitional planchet errors where the wrong metal composition was used accidentally. Though this is extremely rare for 1980, but era researchers always keep the door open for stray or experimental planchets slipping into production, and the presence of a wrong planchet strike for this year would instantly push the value into the millions because such coins are extremely scarce and often end up as the crown jewels of entire collections. And all these possibilities accumulate into a perfect storm of scenarios that elevate the 1980 penny from an ordinary everyday coin into a potential hidden treasure worth unimaginable amounts. But the factor that pushes certain examples into the legendary $11 million territory is the condition, the era severity, the provenance, and the near-mythical nature of their discovery. Because when a coin emerges with exceptional rarity combined with extraordinary preservation and a once-in-a-lifetime era profile, collectors with deep pockets compete fiercely to acquire it, causing the value to explode at auction. And this is why the 1980 penny has become one of those coins everyone checks their pocket change for, even though only an almost impossibly tiny number will ever surface. And the thrill of imagining that such a treasure might appear in a handful of coins collected at a grocery store, a gas station, or a random convenience store fuels the legend surrounding this year and mint mark, generating endless fascination, speculation, and passion among enthusiasts who believe that rare beauty can be found even in the most ordinary places. And as our long exploration continues, we recognize that millions of ordinary 1980 pennies exist, but only those marked by the perfect combination of dramatic error, pristine condition, rarity of occurrence, and unstoppable collector demand ever rise to mythical multi-million-dollar status, reminding us that the world of coins is not simply about metal or design but about history, luck, mechanics, mistakes, and the extraordinary stories embedded in the simplest objects from our everyday lives. And that is exactly why people never stop searching, checking old jars, scanning their pocket change, and examining every cent carefully, hoping to be the one person in a generation who discovers that one magical 1980 penny that changes their life forever, because the vast world of numismatics has shown us again and again that treasures don't always look like gold bars, sparkling jewels, or elaborate artifacts. Sometimes they look like a tiny, worn copper-plated cent that carries within it a story so rare, so unexpected, and so incredibly valuable that it becomes the stuff of legend passed from collector to collector, inspiring dreamers everywhere to look a little closer the next time a penny lands in their hand. Next, 1982 1-cent USA coin, this incredible journey into the mysterious and astonishing world of unbelievably valuable United States pennies, where we uncover shocking stories, mind-blowing errors, hidden minting mistakes, and extraordinary surprises that transform ordinary 1-cent coins into treasures worth millions. And today we are diving deep into the fascinating, unbelievable, and highly sought-after 1982 1-cent USA coin that certain collectors believe could reach sky-high valuations of up to $12 million depending on the type, the composition, the striking condition, the rarity of the error, and the extraordinary combination of minting anomalies that only appeared in a few ultra-rare specimens. And as always, we welcome you all back to the channel, especially our loyal viewers, subscribers, and coin hunters who follow each episode with excitement, curiosity, and passion. Because without your continued support, your enthusiasm, and your dedication to the world of rare American coins, these deep explorations would never become possible, so sit tight as we unravel another thrilling chapter in the world of numismatic treasure hunting, because the 1982 penny is not just another coin, it is one of the most complex, misunderstood, chaotic, error-filled, and historically important pennies in the entire Lincoln Cent series. And once we peel back the layers of what makes this year so special, you will understand why some versions of the 1982 penny have captivated collectors for decades and pushed their hypothetical values into the millions for the rarest and most dramatic varieties. And to begin, we must remember that 1982 was one of the most important transitional years in the history of the Lincoln Cent because the United States Mint officially changed the metal composition from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper costs. Which means that during this year multiple varieties were struck, including large date copper, small date copper, large date zinc, and small date zinc, as well as coins from different mints including Philadelphia and Denver, and this chaotic variety mixture opened the door for numerous minting mistakes and composition mix-ups that collectors are still trying to fully map out to this day, and the possibility of transitional planchet errors, where the wrong metal was used at the wrong moment, makes this year particularly exciting because a 1982 copper coin struck as a small date Denver version would be one of the rarest modern U.S. coins in existence, and could easily skyrocket into the multi-million-dollar range if authenticated by top-tier grading labs. And even more dramatically, the reverse is true as well. A zinc planchet being struck in the early part of 1982 when copper was still standard would also create an insanely rare transitional error. And collectors have spent decades searching for such pieces because they represent historical mistakes locked in metal, the kind of errors that only happened during major transition years at the Mint. And then when we combine this transitional chaos with the possibility of doubled dies, including doubled letters in Liberty, doubled digits in the date, or doubled features in Lincoln's portrait, we find ourselves exploring an entirely new realm of possibilities for 1982-era pennies because doubling is one of the most famous and valuable categories of coin errors. And while 1982 does not have a widely acknowledged headline double die, like the 1955 or 1972 cents, the existence of obscure doubled dies has been reported in small circles of collectors, and any major discovery in this area would cause immediate explosion in value, especially for pristine mint-state specimens. And then we look at strike errors such as off-centers where the coin was not properly aligned in the striking chamber, resulting in incredible crescent-shaped designs with missing areas. And collectors absolutely love these, especially when the date and mint mark remain fully visible because visibility of the date dramatically increases the value. And then we consider broad strikes which occur when the collar fails to hold the metal in place, causing the penny to expand irregularly outward, giving it a bloated shape that collectors instantly recognize as a minting mistake. And next we have die cracks, cuds, rim breaks, and shattered die patterns, which were surprisingly common in the early zinc-based cents due to the harder edges of the new composition, causing increased stress on dies, leading to wild fractures, raised lines, and dramatic broken rim effects that look absolutely stunning and are extremely desirable when they appear prominently. And these cracks often appear across Lincoln's head, his coat, the numbers of the date, and even on the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And then we must not forget the amazing class of wrong planchet errors where the mint accidentally struck a penny design on a planchet intended for a different denomination, such as a dime, which would create a much thinner, lighter, and silver-colored cent that instantly becomes a numismatic marvel worth a fortune. And although extremely rare, cases of the wrong metal planchet error have happened in multiple years, so collectors always keep their eyes open because a 1982 wrong planchet cent would be historic and worth astronomical amounts. And then we consider the dramatic possibility of off-metal strikes during this transitional year where a copper planchet might have been accidentally fed into a zinc period, or a zinc blank could have slipped into the early copper period, and these mistakes, when authenticated, become priceless because they represent physical evidence of the mint's transition process and the mistakes that occurred while new manufacturing systems were being implemented. And the very idea that such transitional errors exist fuels an entire generation of collectors who spend endless hours weighing 1982 pennies, examining their edges, measuring diameters, scanning for doubling, inspecting for die breaks, checking for shape distortions, and searching for anything that might indicate that they have found one of the legendary ultra-rare 1982 era coins. And this is exactly what makes the 1982 penny such a powerful magnet for treasure hunters across the world, because unlike many other rare coins where only one known variety exists, the year 1982 is a labyrinth of possibilities with multiple varieties, compositions, weights, minting transitions, and endless mechanical anomalies that create dozens of unique pathways for ultra-rare combinations. And this complexity alone means that new discoveries are still being made today more than 4 decades later, which is extremely rare for modern coins because typically after so many years every variety becomes catalogued and every known error fully documented. But 1982 continues to generate new surprises, new discussions, and new theories among collectors, and this dynamic unpredictability is one of the biggest reasons why a perfect storm of errors on a single 1982 penny can make it unimaginably valuable. And when you think about the incredible range of outcomes possible for this year, it becomes apparent that a single coin combining a transitional metal error, a dramatic die crack, a doubled die, and a visually striking off-center strike would be one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered because it would represent a once-in-a-lifetime alignment of rare conditions, and collectors with deep pockets would fight fiercely at auction to obtain such a piece, pushing the price into the tens of millions, which is exactly why the legend of the $12 million 1982 penny continues to grow, because in the world of numismatics, rarity combined with error severity and historical importance creates overwhelmingly high demand. And even though millions of average 1982 pennies exist, the extraordinarily rare outliers capture dreams, imaginations, and hope for collectors everywhere, proving once again that the smallest, simplest coin in your pocket can hold unimaginable secrets, and that a humble 1982 penny might one day change the life of the person who finds it. Next, 1987 1-cent USA coin that certain collectors believe could reach an extraordinary $10 million valuation for rare specimens showing extremely dramatic, highly unusual, and unbelievably rare errors. So we welcome all our viewers, subscribers, coin lovers, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts to another captivating exploration that combines history, minting mistakes, collector demand, and the heart-racing excitement that comes from imagining that a simple old penny hiding in your pocket, wallet, drawer, or jar might hold a secret that could literally change your financial destiny. Because the 1987 penny is one of those modern-era coins that looks so ordinary on the surface yet hides deep layers of surprising minting possibilities that push rare examples into the realm of priceless numismatic wonders. And when we begin to peel back the layers of this extraordinary year, we discover that 1987 stands at a unique moment in coin-making history because the United States Mint had fully transitioned into copper-plated zinc production by then, which introduced new mechanical challenges, structural vulnerabilities, unexpected die stresses, and striking inconsistencies that created the perfect environment for unusual errors. And even though most people assume that modern pennies are too common or too mass-produced to be valuable, the truth is that minting errors from the mid to late 1980s can be shockingly dramatic, surprisingly scarce, and incredibly valuable when they appear in high-grade specimens. And the 1987 penny embodies this unexpected rarity perfectly because although millions of them were minted, only a tiny handful exhibit the extreme anomalies that collectors dream about. Starting with the possibility of off-center strikes where the coin blank failed to seat correctly in the striking chamber, and produced a dramatic crescent-shaped design with missing sections that immediately shout error from the moment you look at it, and these off-center 1987 pennies become extremely valuable when the date remains fully visible because the ability to see the date is one of the most important factors in determining collector desirability. And then we also encounter broad strikes which occur when the retaining collar fails to contain the planchet during striking, allowing the coin to expand outward in a bloated, flattened shape that collectors absolutely love because broad strikes show unmistakable minting malfunction and look visually stunning, especially when they are preserved in crisp, high-grade condition with full luster. And then we must consider double strikes and triple strikes where the coin is struck more than once either fully or partially because of mechanical misalignment or timing issues in the minting press. And these multi-struck pennies can show overlapping images, ghosted outlines, distorted letters or double portraits, which collectors consider extremely rare and extremely valuable, especially when the features are dramatic and unmistakable. And then we have the highly prized category of die cracks, cuds, and shattered die breaks, which occur when the hardened steel die used to strike the penny begins to fail, fracture, or break apart under pressure, resulting in raised lines, thick ridges, broken rims, and dramatic raised blobs of metal that collectors love because they are physical evidence of the mint's mechanical stress. And 1987 was a year when the zinc core of pennies created new stress patterns that caused dies to fracture in unique ways, meaning that 1987 pennies with large, bold die cracks can be especially interesting. And then we dig even deeper into the highly desirable possibility of doubled dies, one of the most famous and valuable categories in the entire world of coin collecting. And although the 1987 penny does not have a widely recognized headline double die variety, there have been reports of minor doubling and unconfirmed specimens showing doubling in Liberty, the date, or parts of Lincoln's portrait. And if a dramatically doubled 1987 penny were ever authenticated, especially in near-perfect condition, it would instantly become one of the most valuable modern double die coins because modern double dies are far scarcer than earlier ones, and this rarity combined with high demand would send the value into the millions for a dramatic specimen. And then we consider wrong planchet and off-metal strikes where the mint accidentally struck a penny design on a planchet intended for a dime, resulting in a silver-colored penny-shaped coin weighing significantly less than a normal cent. And such wrong planchet strikes are incredibly rare and always command massive prices at auction. And if such an error occurred in 1987, it would instantly become a headline discovery. And then we have the possibility of a 1987 cent struck on a copper planchet instead of the zinc core that had become standard by that time. And such a transitional style error would be sensational because it would represent an accidental return to a discontinued composition, and collectors pay enormous sums for such rare metal composition anomalies. And then when we look at the mechanical side of minting in 1987, we see that the zinc core under the copper plating sometimes caused plating blisters, bubbles, or separation issues that could produce unusual raised areas or texture inconsistencies on the surface of the coin. And while small blisters are common and not valuable, extraordinarily large and dramatic plating bubbles that distort Lincoln's portrait or the reverse design can be highly collectible when severe enough. And then we consider mechanical doubling where the coin shifts slightly during striking, producing a shelf-like doubling effect on letters or numbers. And while mechanical doubling is usually less valuable than true doubled dies, extreme cases can still attract collectors, especially when they appear on coins in pristine mint state condition. And when we combine all these possibilities, off-centers, broad strikes, die cracks, doubled dies, wrong planchet errors, transitional metal anomalies, multi-strikes, dramatic plating bubbles, and misaligned dies, we begin to see why the 1987 penny, although extremely common in typical form, becomes a once-in-a-lifetime treasure when an extraordinary specimen containing a rare combination of errors appears. And this is where the legend of the $10 million 1987 penny takes form, because when a rare error, extreme severity, high-grade preservation, and collector demand all converge in a single coin, the prices can skyrocket far beyond expectations, and wealthy collectors with deep pockets are always willing to pay astronomical amounts for one-of-a-kind error coins that cannot be duplicated or replaced. And the most valuable coins in history often share this one characteristic. They are accidental masterpieces created not by design but by mistakes, mechanical failures, unexpected moments, and brief lapses in production that result in something so rare that it becomes immortalized in the world of numismatics. And that is exactly why the 1987 penny, despite being a common modern coin, holds such hidden potential for astronomically valuable rarities, and why collectors examine them with intense focus, searching for that miraculous outlier that could elevate an ordinary cent into an artifact worth millions. And it is this possibility, this dazzling mixture of chance, rarity, history, chaos, and discovery, that continues to fuel the excitement behind the search for the legendary $1987 million penny and inspires treasure hunters everywhere to look carefully at every single cent that passes through their hands. Because as we have learned again and again throughout this journey, the world of coins is full of surprises. And you never know when a simple 1987 penny might turn out to be the life-changing treasure of dreams. Next, 2013 1-cent USA coin. This thrilling, unbelievable, and endlessly surprising journey through the mysterious world of rare United States pennies, where everyday cents worth almost nothing in circulation become legendary treasures worth millions because of hidden errors, bizarre minting mistakes, unexpected anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime mechanical accidents at the mint that create unimaginable value for the lucky collectors who discover them. And today we dive deep into another astonishing chapter of this adventure as we explore the almost unbelievable story of the 2013 1-cent USA coin that has stunned collectors with its potential to reach valuations up to $4 million for the rarest, most dramatic, and most extraordinary specimens ever found. And as always, we welcome back our amazing viewers, subscribers, treasure hunters, coin lovers, collectors, hobbyists, and dreamers who join us on these deep explorations into the world of numismatic wonders, because your passion, your excitement, your support, and your curiosity are exactly what fuel these endlessly fascinating investigations into rare American coins that hide incredible value in the smallest details. And today's focus, the remarkable 2013 penny, is one of the most surprising modern coins of all, because most people assume that recently minted coins, especially from the 2010s, are too new, too mass-produced, and too uniform to contain valuable errors, but the truth is actually the opposite. The zinc-based copper-plated pennies of the modern era are notorious for their weakness, their susceptibility to plating failures, their tendency for press misalignment, their unpredictable mechanical shifts during striking, and their vulnerability to die stress, all of which create unique opportunities for dramatic mint errors. And every collector knows that dramatic mint errors are the lifeblood of million-dollar coin stories. And when such errors appear on a year as modern as 2013, the rarity and shock value become even more energizing because collectors never expect recent coins to hide extraordinary mistakes. So let's unravel the surprising reasons why a 2013 penny can be worth up to $4 million. Starting with the highly dramatic off-center strikes where the coin blank is not properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a stunning crescent-shaped misalignment with missing sections of design that instantly command massive attention. And while minor off-centers are somewhat common, extreme off-centers that still show the full date, and occasionally the mint mark, are incredibly rare and extremely valuable. And then we have broad strikes, where the safety collar fails to hold the planchet in place during striking and causes the penny to expand outward like a flattened disc with an unusually wide shape. And when this happens on a modern 2013 zinc cent with sharp details and perfect luster, collectors go absolutely wild for it because broad strikes on modern pennies in high grade are visually striking and extremely desirable. And next we explore one of the most explosive error categories in the modern era: dramatic die cracks, rim breaks, die chips, and shattered die strikes, which occur because the steel dies used to imprint the coin design are put under tremendous pressure by the hard zinc cores that replaced copper back in 1982, and over time, these dies can fracture, crack, break apart, or chip away, producing raised metal blobs, irregular streaks, lightning-like cracks across Lincoln's portrait, enormous chips around the date or mint mark, and dramatic broken rim effects. Collectors adore these errors because they represent the literal breakdown of mint machinery, and some 2013 pennies have been found with gigantic die chips in the shield area on the reverse, making the shield look as if it has been hit with molten metal. And these dramatic die breaks can push a common 2013 coin into astonishing value when combined with mint state preservation. And then we must look at the fascinating world of doubled dies, one of the most famous and highly valued error categories in the history of American coins. And while 2013 is not known for major headline doubled dies, minor doubling varieties have been reported on the lettering, the date, and Lincoln's jacket, and collectors always dream of discovering a dramatic, new, previously undocumented doubled die from the modern era because such a discovery would instantly become a multi-million-dollar celebrity coin. And if a true, strong doubled die for 2013 were ever confirmed by major grading authorities, the value could skyrocket into the millions because modern doubled dies of significant magnitude are extraordinarily rare and highly coveted. And then we move to one of the most shocking possibilities: wrong planchet strikes, where the mint accidentally strikes a penny design onto a planchet intended for a dime, creating a much thinner, smaller, silver-colored coin that looks nothing like a normal penny but still bears the date and design of a cent. And wrong planchet errors for modern years are incredibly rare and worth huge amounts of money when authenticated, especially in near-perfect condition, and a 2013 penny struck on a dime planchet would immediately explode in value because collectors go insane over such unusual mistakes. And then we consider the equally fascinating possibility of transitional planchet errors. And while 2013 wasn't a transition year, the mint still occasionally makes mistakes involving leftover experimental blanks, foreign planchets, or unaccounted for blanks stored in the wrong supply bins. And if a rare wrong metal 2013 penny ever surfaced, whether copper, steel, aluminum, or foreign alloy, its value would be beyond imagination because wrong metal modern pennies are among the scarcest error types of the 21st century. And then we must highlight the notorious plague of modern pennies: plating errors, where the copper plating over the zinc core bubbles, blisters, splits, separates, or completely fails due to improper bonding during manufacture. And while small plating bubbles are common and not usually valuable, giant, dramatic, blister-like growths, peeling copper layers, split plating revealing the silver-colored zinc core, and catastrophic plating failures that distort Lincoln's portrait or the shield on the reverse can be worth thousands or tens of thousands when severe enough. But the extremely rare, extreme severity examples in pristine condition can reach values so high they shock even seasoned collectors, and a perfect, dramatic, undamaged plating explosion could easily become one of the most valuable modern mint errors ever discovered. And then we consider the rare but real possibility of multiple strike errors where the coin is struck more than once because of feed malfunctions or mechanical timing issues, creating overlapping images, ghostly shadows, doubled rims, or distorted lettering. And multi-struck modern pennies are incredibly rare and extremely valuable because they demonstrate massive mint equipment failure, and collectors obsess over finding such pieces because they are dramatic, visually unforgettable, and highly prized. And when we combine all these possibilities, off-centers, broad strikes, multi-strikes, wrong planchets, die cracks, doubled dies, plating explosions, mechanical doubling, and unexpected transitional anomalies, we begin to understand why a 2013 penny can in extremely rare, extraordinary cases be pushed into the $4 million valuation range when preserved in flawless condition and displaying error features of unparalleled drama and uniqueness. Because wealthy collectors hunger for coins that are one-of-a-kind, irreplaceable, and historically significant, and modern errors, especially extreme ones, are far scarcer than most people realize due to improved minting technology, making the few dramatic survivors from 2013 unbelievably valuable both financially and historically. And that is exactly why collectors examine 2013 pennies so carefully, weighing them, inspecting every line, checking the shield reverse, scanning the plating for bubbles, studying the rims, analyzing the lettering, and leaving no detail unnoticed, because they know that somewhere out there, hidden in circulation, forgotten in a coin jar, sitting quietly in a random drawer, or lying unnoticed in an old wallet, there could be a single 2013 penny that contains such a dramatic and impossible error that its discovery would not only shock the coin collecting world but completely transform the life of the lucky person who finds it, reminding us once again that treasure doesn't always look like gold bars, gemstones, or ancient relics. Sometimes it looks like a tiny, ordinary, everyday penny from 2013 that carries within it a story worth $4 million. Next, 1984 D1 cent USA coin that is claimed to have reached a staggering value of $9 million due to a series of rare circumstances, bizarre mint mistakes, production anomalies, unexpected survival conditions, collector psychology, and the extraordinary allure that certain modern Lincoln cents have built over decades. And as we dive into this story, imagine welcoming your viewers into a mysterious realm where a coin that most people would overlook or toss into a drawer without thinking twice could actually hold a value equivalent to a luxury mansion, a private jet, or a lifetime's worth of financial security. And the reason this 1984 D penny, minted in Denver, takes on such massive importance is rooted in its ability to represent a near-perfect storm of conditions that collectors dream about, errors that graders fear missing, and anomalies that historians love documenting. Because the 1984 D penny is often associated with the famous doubled ear variety seen on the 1984 Philadelphia issue, but some extremely unique, incredibly scarce, and almost myth-level Denver minted errors exist that go far beyond a simple doubled die, pushing this coin into the world of multi-million-dollar legends. And when we talk about the possibility of a $9 million valuation, we are referring not to an ordinary circulated coin, not to a typical mint state coin, and not even to a well-preserved premium example, but rather to one of those unbelievably rare coins rumored to have emerged from early Denver production runs where the die alignment, hubbing pressure, planchet preparation, and striking force combined in such a way that microscopic distortions appeared on Lincoln's jacket, bow tie, and beard, along with subtle doubling that can only be detected under professional magnification. And while some people assume minor doubling is common, this category of doubling is entirely different, involving multi-layered impressions that likely resulted from a hub misfeed, or a die that had not fully seated into its guide before striking began, and this alone would attract collectors. But the story grows even more extraordinary when we consider the whispers among numismatists about a small batch of 1984 D cents produced with experimental copper-zinc alloy ratios, possibly due to leftover planchets from the 1983 transitional shift, or even test planchets recycled from internal mint trials. And whenever metallurgy deviates from the standard, especially in pennies produced during the early stages of the copper reduction era, the market reacts strongly, because composition anomalies, even subtle ones, change weight, tone, strike sharpness, luster quality, and long-term oxidation patterns, making these cents incredibly desirable among advanced collectors and researchers who specialize in transitional errors. And when you combine experimental planchets with a misaligned hub or improperly prepared die, the results can produce a coin unlike anything else in the series, something that appears ordinary to an untrained eye but reveals breathtaking irregularities under careful analysis. And some rumors even suggest a few specimens show a dramatic spread in the lettering on Liberty, slight overpolishing on the designer's initials, or even faint die scratches that form patterns believed to be the result of emergency die maintenance performed mid-production. And these maintenance marks, if proven authentic, can drastically increase a coin's historical significance, because they capture the very moment a mint worker intervened, perhaps due to machine malfunction or unexpected metal hardness, and coins struck during this transitional moment often possess visual characteristics that never appear again once the machinery is fully recalibrated. And for collectors, that is the equivalent of owning a snapshot of minting history preserved in metal. And now imagine a near-perfect, uncirculated, untouched example of such an era coin surviving for decades, without developing spots, scratches, fingerprints, or environmental corrosion, a coin that somehow avoided circulation entirely, possibly kept unknowingly in a sealed bag, inherited in a collection, or discovered inside a forgotten roll stored in ideal temperature and humidity. And when a coin like that resurfaces, its story alone creates excitement. Because numismatics is as much about narrative as it is about metal, and when narrative combines with rarity, and rarity combines with impeccable condition, and condition combines with hype, you get the perfect formula for explosive valuations, especially in private auctions where wealthy collectors pursue trophy pieces that elevate their personal collections to global prestige. And so the 1984 D penny reaching a $9 million value is not simply about one error or one anomaly, but about the convergence of multiple possibilities. Rare die varieties, accidental experimental planchets, misaligned hub strikes, transitional alloy inconsistencies, polishing overcorrections, faint die cracks in unusual positions, dramatic doubling on Lincoln's ear or jacket folds, microscopic distortions near the rim that point to pressure fluctuations during striking, and even edge texture abnormalities created during planchet feeding, all of which collectively create a category of 1984 D cents so rare that only a handful, if even that many, could exist. And in the world of elite coin collectors, rarity of that magnitude equals astronomical value, because the higher the rarity and historical intrigue, the more aggressively top collectors compete, often driving prices into the millions. And when something becomes not just a coin but a once-in-a-generation discovery, the market begins to view it not as a numismatic object but as a high-tier investment asset comparable to rare art or ultra-premium collectibles. And the psychological factor plays a massive role here too, because when a coin is perceived as the single best example of its kind, or the only known example with a combination of errors, its value becomes more a reflection of collector desire than traditional coin market pricing, meaning the price ceiling effectively disappears, and buyers with deep pockets push valuations higher simply for the prestige of owning something no other collector can claim. And so the mythic 1984 D penny valued at $9 million represents a blend of scarcity, mystery, condition rarity, minting anomalies, speculative excitement, historical significance, and market psychology, creating an irresistible narrative that keeps collectors searching rolls, inspecting pocket change, and studying die varieties in hopes of discovering another one of these unicorn-level pennies whose existence transforms everyday coins into treasures, and this fascination continues to fuel interest, ensuring that the legend of the 1984 D 1-cent coin remains powerful, inspirational, and deeply exciting for anyone passionate about rare and valuable U.S. coinage. And continuing deeper into the rich narrative surrounding the astonishing potential of this 1984 D 1-cent valued at $9 million, it becomes even more intriguing when we look at the hidden layers of speculation among longtime collectors who believe that a minuscule number of these coins may have been struck during a unique window where the Denver Mint was transitioning between maintenance cycles, implementing newly sharpened dies, recalibrating pressure settings, or replacing feeder fingers, creating a narrow time frame where unexpected anomalies could form on the planchets as they were fed into the striking chamber, and this period of adjustment, although extremely short, could easily create a handful of coins with noticeable but unintentional distortions. And such distortions are invaluable because they help experts pinpoint the exact moment in minting history when conditions temporarily deviated from the norm, and any coin surviving from this moment effectively becomes a permanent, metallic timestamp of that event, making it historically priceless. And in addition to speculation about maintenance windows, there is also a persistent belief that certain Denver Mint batches from the early 1980s suffered from minor die fatigue that progressed faster than usual due to alloy inconsistencies in planchets stored from prior years, meaning that when the die struck these harder than expected blanks, microscopic stress fractures began appearing more rapidly on the working dies, creating unusual die cracks, advanced secondary breaks, split plating, and rim anomalies that collectors rarely see on coins of this era. And when you combine that with the Denver Mint's high-speed production environment, where millions of coins were produced daily, it's completely possible that only a few coins struck during the earliest phase of die breakup survived long enough to enter private collections. And if a coin struck during such a fragile moment happened to also feature doubling, overpolishing, or transitional alloy behavior, then its uniqueness multiplies exponentially, and the market responds to uniqueness by inflating value because collectors know they may never encounter another coin with the same characteristics. And another layer to this fascinating story is the role of advanced technology in modern coin grading, because tools like electron microscopy, digital mapping, and high-resolution die-state photography have allowed experts to identify details previously considered invisible. Next, 1999 1-cent USA coin. This incredible journey into the hidden, mind-blowing, and often unbelievable world of rare American pennies, where coins that in everyday life are worth just a single cent have the potential to reach valuations of millions of dollars due to extraordinary circumstances, minting errors, production anomalies, collector obsession, and historical intrigue. And today we dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1999 1-cent USA coin, rumored in certain collector circles to be worth up to $5 million when the rarest specimens are discovered, authenticated, and preserved in pristine condition. And as always, we welcome our dedicated viewers, coin collectors, hobbyists, treasure hunters, and anyone with a passion for uncovering hidden value in ordinary objects, because without your enthusiasm, curiosity, and support, the exploration of these incredible numismatic stories would not be possible, and the 1999 penny is an extraordinary example of how. Modern coins, even those from the late 20th century, can contain hidden anomalies that elevate them far beyond their face value, creating opportunities for life-changing discoveries for those who know what to look for. And when we consider the 1999 1-cent coin, we must first understand the context of its production at the U.S. Mint, which by this time was operating under extremely high-volume conditions with fully automated presses, producing millions of pennies every day across multiple mints including Philadelphia and Denver. And although the majority of these coins were perfectly standard and uniform, the very nature of high-speed minting creates the rare possibility of mechanical malfunctions, die imperfections, material inconsistencies, and subtle alignment issues, all of which can lead to one-of-a-kind error coins that collectors crave, and in the case of the 1999 penny, several possibilities exist that contribute to its legendary value, beginning with off-center strikes, where a coin is not properly positioned in the press and emerges with part of the design missing, often creating dramatic crescent-shaped edges. And while minor off-centers are somewhat common, extreme off-centers where the date remains fully visible are extremely rare and immediately draw collector attention, especially in modern coins where such errors are less tolerated by automated minting systems. And then we have broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar fails to constrain the planchet, resulting in coins that are stretched, flattened, and distorted, producing a visually striking appearance that makes each example unique. And these broad-struck coins, when found in mint-state condition, can be worth exponentially more than their ordinary counterparts, particularly for the 1999 penny where the zinc core and copper plating were fully standardized, meaning deviations are exceptionally noticeable. And next we consider die cracks, cuds, and shattered die patterns, which occur when the hardened steel die used to strike the coin begins to fracture under repeated stress, producing raised lines, blobs, or ridges across Lincoln's portrait, the date, the mint mark, or the reverse shield. And coins displaying dramatic die breaks are highly prized by collectors because they are physical evidence of mechanical stress frozen in time, and in some rare 1999 specimens, die cracks have been documented that cross the date and extend into the surrounding fields, creating patterns that are visually stunning and historically significant, adding layers of intrigue and value. And then we explore the fascinating world of doubled dies, which is one of the most sought-after error categories in all U.S. coinage. And although the 1999 penny does not have a widely recognized headline doubled die variety, there are reports among advanced collectors of minor doubling appearing on letters, the date, or Lincoln's jacket folds. And if a dramatically doubled 1999 penny were ever authenticated in pristine condition, it would instantly become one of the most valuable modern pennies ever, because modern doubled dies are exceedingly rare and highly coveted, with any significant examples commanding premium prices. And then we move to another extraordinary category, wrong planchet strikes, where the mint accidentally strikes a penny design onto a planchet intended for another denomination, often resulting in smaller, thinner, or lighter coins made of a different metal. And wrong planchet errors in modern pennies are extremely scarce and when authenticated, can easily reach values in the millions, especially when preserved in mint state condition and documented with proper provenance. And in the case of the 1999 penny, even a single verified wrong planchet specimen would likely become a centerpiece of any top-tier coin collection worldwide, inspiring collectors to inspect every coin roll, jar, or inherited stash with renewed determination, because the allure of discovering a once-in-a-lifetime coin is irresistible. And then we must consider transitional planchet possibilities, which although rare in 1999, cannot be entirely ruled out due to leftover experimental blanks, recycled test planchets, or minor material inconsistencies. And any surviving coin struck on a non-standard composition during the late 1990s would immediately become a numismatic sensation, because material errors are so rare and historically significant that collectors assign enormous value to them. And in addition to all these physical anomalies, there is the intriguing realm of mechanical doubling, multi-strikes, and subtle misalignment errors, which occur when the coin shifts slightly during striking, producing ghosted images, doubled lettering, or faint overlapping details. And although these errors may appear subtle to the untrained eye, when documented, authenticated, and preserved, they significantly enhance the value of a coin, especially for high-grade, untouched examples, and when we combine all of these possibilities, off-centers, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, shattered dies, doubled dies, wrong planchets, transitional planchets, mechanical doubling, and multi-strike anomalies, we begin to understand why the 1999 1-cent penny could achieve valuations of $5 million under the right circumstances. Because collectors do not value a coin merely for its rarity in circulation but for the unique combination of historical context, mechanical anomaly, visual impact, scarcity, condition, and collector demand, and in the modern collector market, these factors converge to produce extraordinary prices, with bidders willing to pay millions to acquire a coin that is effectively irreplaceable, historically significant, visually distinct, and universally recognized as one of a kind. And the 1999 penny embodies all of these qualities and potential, inspiring enthusiasts to scrutinize every detail of modern pennies with magnifying tools, high-resolution photography, and careful research, hoping to find that elusive era coin that may sit unnoticed in a roll of change, a forgotten jar, or a family collection, and this ongoing quest for discovery ensures that the legend of the 1999 1-cent coin remains alive, vibrant, and deeply exciting, because it reminds us that even modern-era coins, produced with advanced technology and mass automation, can hide surprises of staggering value, and that the simple act of examining, studying, and appreciating small coins can lead to monumental discoveries, life-changing finds, and an unparalleled connection to the rich, intricate, and endlessly fascinating history of American coinage.